Hey guys, thanks for watching the Install Pros channel. Today we're going to be showing you how to shrink and install a computer cut tint pattern on the curved back window of an SUV. If you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the description of this video. There'll be a link and some information regarding our giveaways. We may be giving away a computer cut tint kit that you could win, so check that out. And we'll get started. The first thing we're going to do is quickly go over the tools that we recommend for installing tint. Now, certainly this is not an exhaustive list of all the tools that are available for installing tint, but these are the ones that we feel like get the job done. So if you don't have these tools, please check out the description of this video, as there'll be a link to a toolkit that includes these tools. There'll also be a link to a toolkit that includes these tools and a heat gun. So make sure you check that out. The first thing you're going to want is the installation solution. Now the mixture for this solution can be found in one of our other videos, and a link to that should come across the screen. So if you need it, make sure you check that out. The other tools that you're going to need is a 4 to a 5 inch yellow turbo squeegee, a 2-inch yellow turbo squeegee, a side swiper, a 5-way hard card, a triangle hard card, a box blade, and the white Scotch-Brite pads. Now the reason that we say white Scotch-Brite pads is because the brown and the orange, the other colors, are too abrasive and they can scratch your window. So make sure that you're using the white Scotch-Brite pad. If you're going to be doing, if you're going to be shrinking tint, you're also going to want some dryer sheets. Doesn't really matter what brand you get, it's just dryer sheets. So here in this video we're going to be using them. So we'll get started. Before you even start to install the window tint on your vehicle, we would strongly suggest that you wash your vehicle. This will help get rid of all the dirt and dust and debris, the things that are your enemy when you're installing window tint. Here we've already washed this vehicle, so now we're going to focus specifically on the back window and make sure that it's cleaned thoroughly. What we're going to need to do that is our installation solution, our 5-inch yellow turbo squeegee, and our shop towel. After we've gotten the window wet, we're going to use our hands like this to rub over the window. We're just checking for any debris that may not have come off when we first washed our vehicle. This could be tree sap. It could be maybe glue from a sticker that was on the window before. So we're just checking for that type of stuff. If you find something like that, you can use that box blade to scrape it off the window. The box blade is okay to use on the outside of the window, but you never want to use it on the inside of the window, as you'll destroy your defroster. So here I didn't fill anything on here, so now we're going to use our yellow turbo squeegee. Starting at the top, we're going to start to squeegee it. And every time you come across there, you'll want to wipe your squeegee off so any dirt or debris that you've pulled off, you're not putting back on the window. You'll just work your way down to the bottom. Now vehicles like this that have this back windshield wiper, you'll want to wedge something underneath there so that you pull the windshield wiper off the window and it's not interfering with the tint, and it makes it easier to clean the window. If you don't have something you can wedge underneath there, you could also tie a string on it, tie it back to something so that it's just lifted off the window. Once you have that all squeegeed, then you want to go around the edges of your window and just make sure that it's all clean. The better job you do, the less likely it'll be that you'll have an issue with dirt or debris or something going back behind your tint. So now that that's all clean, we're going to spray the window again, and we're going to use our dryer sheet. That way it can be drying while we're cleaning the inside of the window. So we'll get started with that. Now that the window has been cleaned thoroughly, it's time to use our dryer sheet. So we'll use our installation solution again to get it wet. And then we use a regular dryer sheet to wipe around the window. Now this will be able to dry while we clean the inside of the window. So here it's nice because this is an SUV. I can just lift up the back window. I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm kind of a big guy, so it's nice to just be able to lift up the back of the car and clean the window. The inside, it's super important that it's cleaned as thoroughly as you can possibly clean it. That's where you're going to have real issues with dirt, dust, stuff running from behind the molding and getting behind your film when you're installing it. So do a really good job cleaning the inside of your window. So here we start with again with our yellow turbo squeegee, our shop towel, and we'll squeegee it. Just get all the, maybe the big dirt or debris off of the window. I like to wipe around the edges as much as possible because that's where you're going to get issues with stuff coming out after you've cleaned it. Well, now that we've used the turbo squeegee on it once, we're going to use that white Scotch-Brite pad on the window. This will help really clean it. Again, don't use the green or the brown. They can be too abrasive and can scratch your window. Use the white. We'll get it wet again. And we'll use this to really get in there. There. And we can use our yellow turbo squeegee again. Then I like to go around the edges again, just to really make sure I'm getting it as clean as I can. Okay, now that's done. Now the bounce pad is still not dry, so what we'll do here is we'll use our heat gun to help this dry out a little bit faster. If it's a warmer summer day, this may already be dried out and ready to put the tint on there and shrink it, but in our case it's not. So I'll quickly use the heat gun just to dry it out, and we'll start shrinking the tint. You can see now the dryer sheet has been dried, back window's dried, and you have that haze on it. So now we're ready to pull out our back window pattern, put it on there, and start shrinking it. When you get your tint kit, your patterns are not going to be what we call weeded. And what that means is that the excess tint that's around your pattern has not been removed. We purposely don't weed them when we ship them out to help protect them during shipping. So when you get your pattern, before you could put it on the back window and shrink it, you need to weed it. So a lot of tint installers, what they'll do is they'll put it in between their teeth and they'll rub their teeth back and forth like this and then work their tongue in between the liner and the tint. Another way that you could do it is use tape. You can put a tape on the tint side like this and a piece of tape on the liner side, and you could pull it apart so you can see
Now we've separated the tint and the liner. One of the important things to keep in mind is that sometimes when these patterns are plotted, there might be a little area where the plotter didn't cut through the tint. So when you're weeding your pattern, just go kind of slowly and be careful in case there's an area where maybe the knife didn't cut all the way through the tint. You just don't want to rip it off real fast because you'll tear into your pattern. When you're weeding it, just go kind of slowly like this. You can see how right there that's already separated and pulled off. So that's an area right here where it didn't cut all the way through. Because we were going slow, we didn't tear into our pattern. And we're pulling away from our pattern. This tint has glue on it, so you'll want to not let it touch the rest of the tint. So we're just working around slowly, pulling off that excess tint. There we have it. Now we've weeded our pattern. It's ready to be put on the back window and shrunk.
Now that we've weeded our pattern, we're ready to put it on the back window and start shrinking it. So we do what they call the H pattern. You'll take a damp shop towel, and one thing to note on any window is your pattern is only going to cover the area that you can see through. So you can see right here how you have this black. This is the dot matrix. So your pattern is only going to go just a little ways onto that. So you're only covering the area that's see-through. So when you do your H pattern, keep that in mind. So you don't want to be, coming over here to the side where the tint's not going to cover and do your H pattern. You want to be doing it where the tint's going to be. So in the area that you can see through the window. So we're going to come down here. We're going to go across the center. And we'll come down here. So now we've got an H pattern on there. Next thing you're going to do is just verify the side of the liner's on. Because you want the liner to be facing you. That way when you're shrinking it, you're not going to scratch your tint. So here, the liner's facing me. Now it's not super duper critical to get this in the exact spot that it's going to be in when you install it, but you want to get it as close as possible. So I just kind of look through there, see where it's at. And here we go. Now you can run your hand through the center and grab your 5-way hard card and tack down that center. Then you can tack the side. And tack this side. What that does is it pushes all the slack to the center. Tint only shrinks to the factory edge, so most generally when you're doing a back window, your factory edges are going to be at the top and the bottom. That's just the way that it generally fits on the raw material. So here we want to be shrinking up and down. So all of our slack is right here, and we'll be able to shrink that out. So we'll get started with that. While we use a heat gun to shrink the tint, you don't necessarily have to. Before they really started using heat guns, they would use hair dryers. So you could, in theory, use a hair dryer to do this. It's just a lot faster with a heat gun, and that's what we would recommend using is a heat gun. So now that you've got your pattern stuck here, it's pretty close to where it will be when you put it on the inside of the window. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly lined up, but you do want it kind of close. then you can start here in the center where you've done, your H-line. Remember that when you're shrinking, you want to start at the high point and work your way down, or start here and work your way up. So you're shrinking the tint down and up. So what you want to do is keep your heat gun about 2 to 3 inches away from your tint and constantly be moving. If you're not moving the heat gun, you can see how it shrivels up. If you're not moving the heat gun, then you'll burn through your tint. So you need to get it warm, but you don't want to get it so hot that you burn through it. If you end up with a lot of slack here at the bottom, you can use your hand to kind of separate some of the slack and be able to push it out. The better job you do at shrinking the film, the fewer problems you'll have when you try to install it. So just, take your time, be careful, and you just shrink it like that. So we're going to continue that process for the rest of the window here. The tint is now shrunk and it's ready to be installed on the inside of the window. So what we'll do is, again, gratefully we can just open up this back hatch. We'll grab our installation solution. We've already cleaned this window, so now we just have to get it wet. And you'll want to be liberal with the water. This will allow the pattern to slide around and be positioned. Once that's wet, you can come out here and you'll start to pull back the liner. And the tint has a pressure sensitive adhesive on it, so you don't want it to touch itself or you'll ruin it. So as you pull it back, just keep getting it wet. So now that your tint's wet, the inside of your window's wet, you're ready to pull this off and put it on the inside. If you had a car, you'd pull it off, put it in between your arms, walk around and back into it. We do have a video that shows us installing, shrinking and installing tint on a sedan. It's about the same process, but it is a little bit more challenging when the back window, you have a little less space, or a lot less space sometimes, to work with, and that's where that side swiper will come in. You haven't seen us use that in this video because we haven't needed it. If you were doing a sedan or some other car that had less space back between the deck and the window, you would need that side swiper to get in there, clean the window, and to squeegee it out when you're putting on the tint. So you can check the link out for that. There should be one that comes across the screen so you can see us installing the tint on a sedan. We want to make sure you're sliding your tint back behind the molding in your vehicle. You want to make sure that you don't see any daylight. You've got your tint positioned so there's no white light coming through around the edges. If you've centered it correctly, you'll be on that dot matrix, and you won't see any light coming through the back window. So that water that we sprayed in there just helps you position it. So right there, that looks pretty good. Now what we'll do is we'll close the back of this, and we will clean off this back window so we can see what's going on in there a little bit better. I want to clean all this dryer sheet off of here. You might need more than one towel. Now your tint shrunken in there, we don't need this to be held up anymore, so it's okay that that thing fell out. Now we can see what's going on in here a little bit better. We'll get on the inside, we'll spray it with our installation solution so that our squeegee will slide on the film. One thing super important is make sure that this squeegee is clean. So every time you go across it, wipe it off so that you're not picking up some grain of sand or something coming back across your tint and scratching your tint. So we'll start in the center and we'll work our way out to the edges, and every time we come out we'll wipe this off so that we're not risking scratching our tint. Now that we finished squeegeeing the tint with our yellow turbo squeegees, we'll go back over it with our hard cards. In some tight areas, you might use the triangle hard card, but for the most part we're going to be using just the regular hard card. So we'll get in there. We're going to wrap it in our shop towel, and we'll wrap it tight so you don't have any creases and stuff in there. And then every time you push this across into the molding, you'll want to move your hard card. So again, you're not picking up any dirt or debris in there, pulling it back out, running it across your tint and scratching it. So we'll do that right now. You can see that we've got a finger that's come up right here. Sometimes not all of the edges will stick down
perfectly. Actually, most of the time they probably don't all stick down. You might have a couple of these little areas. There is a 10 to 15 minute tap time on the tint, so you may try waiting 10 to 15 minutes and trying to push it down again with the hard card. If that doesn't work, then you can heat up the window with the heat gun. So we'll show you that method right now. So we'll just heat this window on high for 10 to 20 seconds. Probably actually do it a little bit less here because this isn't very big. We'll heat up the window. And we'll use our hard card. And push it out. And you can see that's gone. So that's the way you would address those.
We've now finished tinting the back window of this SUV. We've gone around all the edges, and any area that wasn't laying down properly, we heated with the heat gun from the outside, and we pushed down with the hard card from the inside. Thanks for watching our video. We hope that you found it helpful. If you did, please take the time to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and don't forget to check out the description of this video, where we'll provide the link to the tools that we used, as well as the link to our giveaway, and we'll likely provide discounts on our product and various other products. So check it out.